Now that we have a sense of the scope of the problem, let's talk about how to have conversations about substance use that get past one-word answers and frustration. The name of this section is Tools to Talk, because that's what they are, tools you can use to have more effective conversations with the young person you care about. We all love our kids. The acronym LOVE uses that important word to help us remember some important keys to communication: listening, offering, validating, and empathy. This concept is adapted from training developed by CMC Foundation for Change. Listening is so important that it gets its own acronym, OARS, or OARS. The O stands for open-ended questions, questions that can't be answered with one or two words. Affirmations, finding the positive in the other speaker's words and actions. Reflections, repeating back key phrases to the other speaker. And summaries, gathering up the other speaker's key ideas before you pivot to another topic. OARS is used in motivational interviewing, a widely used approach to communication that focuses on uncovering the other person's motivations. Open-ended questions make it easier for people to share information, thoughts, opinions, and more, while keeping the conversation going. Often, open-ended questions start with what, how, or tell me. They can be used if it's truly out of a sense of curiosity and not accusatory. For example, why did you do that? Some examples of open-ended questions are listed on the screen. On the other hand, closed questions invite a short answer. For example, did you drink tonight? Ask for specific information like, why are you late? Might be multiple choice. Are you going to do your homework now, after dinner, or tomorrow? The problem with closed questions is that they limit opportunities to respond. A key point to make: closed and open are not synonyms for bad and good. These are different ways of having a conversation that are more or less likely to open the conversation up and invite further information, versus less so. Another point to make about open versus closed is that closed questions are typically more agenda-driven and have a suggestion in them to be either confirmed or disconfirmed. They also narrow the range of options for the person answering, whereas open questions are truly questions soliciting information. Closed questions can sometimes have an effect of the person answering feeling there is a right or wrong answer to give. Here are a couple of scenarios where closed and open-ended questions are compared. Read through scenarios 1 and 2 and notice how the questioner uses open-ended questions. Let's take a look at scenario 3, related to peer pressure. Instead of asking, "Are your friends pressuring you to vape?" what could you say? Take a few seconds to think about your response. Okay, here are some ideas. How do you deal with the pressure from your friends about vaping? What would you say if someone offered you a vape? What would you do if someone made fun of you if you chose not to vape? Tell me how you handle pressure from your friends. Now let's look at scenario 4, about being intoxicated. Instead of saying, "Did you drink tonight?" what could you say using an open-ended question? Take a few seconds to think about your response. Here are some possible open-ended responses. You seem different tonight. What happened while you were at the party? How did you manage tonight? Tell me how you ended up drinking tonight. One thing to consider is waiting until the morning when your young person is not intoxicated. You were unsteady and slurring your words last night. What happened that led to this? The more specific you are about your affirmation, the more powerful it will be. General affirmations like, "You're a great dad," are less powerful than specific examples such as, "I appreciated the thoughtfulness of your response to your son." Genuineness and authenticity matter. Here are some types of affirmations. Find a positive, even when other things may be going wrong. Comment positively on an attribute. Show appreciation. Catch them doing good. What is something you respect or admire about your young person? Compliment. Think about a compliment you would give your young person. Express your hope, caring, or support for another person. Reflections are a way to state back to the person what you think you are hearing, so that they can feel connected with and understood. You can also learn whether or not you got it right. Either way is a win, as you can apologize for missing what they were saying and now actually have it right, or you can confirm what they actually said. You can provide the person you are talking to with the experience of accurately hearing back what they are saying, which can be a powerful eye-opener and give them a chance to reflect on their words. So when using a reflection, you repeat the speaker's words and make a guess about the other person's meaning, rather than asking. For example, you want to go to the movies, which is a statement they can agree or disagree with, rather than, so, do you want to go to the movies? It shows you are listening and lets the speaker hear their own words and allows the speaker to clarify any misunderstandings and provide additional detail. If used properly, it is also non-confrontational. That is why it is important to use a reflection as a statement, rather than turning it into a question. A reflection simply repeats what they said, while a question can feel like a criticism. Here are some examples of statements from young persons and reflections you can offer. I get so angry at my teacher. She doesn't care how hard I'm working. A reflection could be, so, your teacher doesn't care that you're working hard, which is probably more likely to keep a conversation going than, you shouldn't get angry, that won't help. When you use the reflection, you may learn that this is a subject your child is struggling with, and you can develop a plan to get them help. A second example is, I'm sick of my younger sister getting into my stuff. It's not fair. A reflection could be, you feel like it's not fair when your younger sister touches your things. Compare that to, you should really learn how to share. By using a reflection, you might learn that your older daughter doesn't mind sharing. She just wants things put back where they belong. The reflection gives you information you can use to avoid conflicts in the future. One tip is to keep reflections shorter than the original statement. The more you talk, the more likely you are to add in words that do not reflect your young person's thinking. A summary can be thought of as a super reflection, but it can also serve to help you make a transition from one topic to another. It has 4 parts. Pull key points from your conversation together. Collect material already offered. Link something just said with something discussed earlier. And then transition. Draw together what has happened and transition to a new task. Here is an example. So, you feel like your teacher is being mean. You are being tested on materials that weren't reviewed in class, and you just feel lost. What else? It sounds like you get frustrated with your teacher the same way you do with your sister. Taking everything you've told me into account, it sounds like you're frustrated and worried about passing the test. So, what do you want to do? The O in LOVE stands for offering. The information sandwich is a metaphor for delivering information or an idea or a suggestion in an appealing way. Think of it this way. How much more appealing is a sandwich than someone holding meat and lettuce and tomatoes in their hand and saying, "Eat this"? The information sandwich makes information easier to accept, opens up communication, provides options, and allows for disagreement, and lets you make sure you're being understood. One note, invitation to talk can also be called ask permission. So here is a pretty simple example. Can I make a suggestion? Once your young person says yes, you can say, I'm concerned that you don't have time to play basketball and be in the play. Maybe you could choose one or the other. And then finish with, what do you think? So let's break this down. Can I make a suggestion? Is asking permission or an invitation to talk. The information you are providing is a suggestion that provides options. What do you think? Is a way to check for understanding. Here's a more serious discussion. Can I share something I heard? If your young person agrees, continue with some kids are getting fake pills that are laced with fentanyl from social media sites. It's caused a lot of young person deaths. And then ask, what do you know about this? Or what do you think? It's the same process for a serious conversation as for a less critical one. The steps are to invite your young person into a conversation. Make sure they accept the invitation and it is a good time to talk. Provide the information you want to provide, and then check back to make sure you are understood.